Rocket Launch Pad. And now, here's Johnny.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction and Northwest only. Rock and roll, Libertarian Radio Show. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Kurt Nelson.
What up, buddy?
My voice a reason. The beautiful.
Hello, how are you?
Yes, I love it when she does that.
You guys just like had some sexy talk between you
We
just now.
had good sex talk.
Right, yeah, you're like, the beautiful, the lovely.
Yeah, and we were
Just
like sexting
just like,
on the
hi,
phone.
Johnny.
That's foreplay right there.
Hey,
Oh, it's
Johnny.
totally foreplay.
Yeah,
It works.
totally.
It's totally cool. We're here with Steve Kerbel,
Meet a man.
2016 presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. Give it up! Woo! Yeah!
Thank you.
Steve Kerbel, awesome guy. Just really, you're really down-to-earth guy, man. That's what we really like about you here, and we're honored to have you on the show, man.
Indeed, man. Indeed.
It's so cool to be here. I'm just enjoying myself like crazy, and it's nice to talk to you guys. It's fun.
Right on, man. And you're drinking something, right? Hopefully.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm trying to keep up with you. I don't do the beer; it fills me up, so I just go with the wine, and so yeah, I'm following along pretty well.
The wine hangover.
You're a classier guy than we are.
Yes.
No, I just fill up.
We could do some whiskeys next convention.
Okay.
All right. So we were talking about income taxes, corporate taxes, some of the things that you want to do as the president. What do you want to do regarding manufacturing jobs? And you want to bring them back to the country. Do you think it's because of like corporate taxes, excessive union demands, or employee lawsuits?
It's all of it.
All of it.
All of it. I mean, basically what's happened is I think that we have, as a country, have fallen into this trap where, we feel like we don't have a lot of control over our lives anymore, so we see ourselves as victims. And I think that, that's where we're finding is we don't see, well, there's not a lot of chance at making a good living via a career, so let's just sue some people.
Yeah.
And what happens is it creates a lot of nuisance lawsuits. And when you look at some of these big companies that used to have manufacturing plants here, of course, unions have the right to exist under the First Amendment.
I agree.
But I think that at the same time, what they've done in the past is, while they were very necessary during the Industrial Revolution, because of the robber barons and, the really hard-nosed business people that were taking advantage of people. But the problem is we as humans tend to go too far. I don't remember, what happened with Hostess Bakery, where, here basically they had a union representation. They were struggling financially. And they said, look, if you guys will take an 8% pay cut, we can probably support you and keep your jobs. Mindful about the fact that their pay was something like 50 or 60% above the normal baker's pay.
Okay.
So they still would have been way above it. But the union said, no cut, screw you. And so what happens? Hostess goes bankrupt.
We got no more Twinkies.
Yeah, now they're back. And,
That's what Kurt's all worried about.
Well, come on, man. I used to love those Twinkies, man.
They are back.
They're back.
Hostess is back?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There was some comedian. I wish I could give this person credit. I did not make this up. It was a comedian that said, talking about irony. Actually, I think it was Elon Gold. He was a hilarious guy. But he was basically saying, isn't it ironic how on the very same day they legalized weed that Twinkies went bankrupt?
Yeah, I know. Right?
All right.
And
But anyway, so I think that, I think, clearly the unions were instrumental because, the companies have to build stuff and sell it for a price that can be sold.
Right.
And if you increase the cost of labor, it increases the cost of the product. Right. And it makes them less competitive. And if the price goes up too, it's the same thing what happened like with the Japanese cars in the 70s.
I was just going to say that. I was like going to say, I'm like, fuck. But yeah, you're right. The Japanese don't have to worry about that shit. And that's why they can have a better car for a cheaper cost. And this is why American cars are going out of business.
Well,
hence Detroit.
That's what happened in the 70s, where the cost of each employee. Now, I know people will argue with this, and I guess I'm being theatrical in saying this, but I do remember an article that said that the average janitor for Ford Motor Company, including salary, benefits, and all the other stuff, was making $80 an hour.
Wow.
How can you price a car competitively in a world market if you're having to pay your employees at that time, 4 times normal, if not more?
Right.
And so they just went away. And then to make insult to injury, here comes the lawsuits, where typically what happens is, there's a federal guideline. I think it's Title VII, if I remember correctly. But basically it just says that, you can't discriminate, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I understand. When sexual harassment happens, it's egregious, it's horrible. But the number of lawsuits where it actually did happen and wasn't opportunistic has got to be less than 10%.
Well,
and so what happens is that these companies are having to defend all of these bogus lawsuits that
Sure.
are brought by people taking opportunity. And the other thing too is these lawsuits, not only do they harm the employment situation, but they hurt the people that really were harmed.
Yes.
Because they lose their credibility.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, I see it all. I see that the unions were instrumental. I think the lawsuits were instrumental, and corporate tax was instrumental. And so basically, it came too expensive and too difficult and too cumbersome to employ Americans. And so their option was give up or move to foreign shores. And they did. And so I think that if I were to be president of the United States, I would be attacking a lot of these items. Now, I can't really tell the unions what to do because it's free speech, but at the same time, I can encourage them to maybe think about the big picture instead of just doing what they do, so that maybe they're not too damaging when they are around. But I think
you would tell them politely, back the fuck off.
Yes, that's exactly what I would. And then as far as, this is a touchy subject around a lot of libertarians I've spoken to. I have to really explain this because I do believe in the concept of tort reform, but not the type that a lot of people think of where it limits awards and things like that, because I'm about the free market.
Mhm.
But we're all about do what you want, don't hurt anybody else.
Right.
So when you bring a bogus lawsuit, you're hurting somebody. But what's the penalty? None. But what if we made it such that the loser has to pay both persons' cost of the case? So what happens there is if somebody's bringing a bogus lawsuit, then if they know that they're not going to prevail and if they don't settle, they're going to end up having to pay the other people's costs as well. But it's also going to allow the people who are being sued unfairly to actually go through to trial and say, you know what, if I win, then I actually do win because you got to pay my costs. And so what happens is, and then if I did screw up as the company, if my people did hurt someone, I'm going to pay them because I'm going to lose both ways.
You're going to settle out of court as much as possible.
You're going to get rid of it as fast as you can if you know you're wrong.
That is very, very interesting. I think there's some legitimacy to that. I think that's a good point because I didn't know what tort was until about 2 months ago, honestly.
It's not that thing you eat with your coffee. That's different. Or
No,
something.
it's tort.
Tort.
It's delicious.
Is it?
Yes.
It's okay. Isn't it like an English thing?
That's not what we're talking about.
Okay. But like we were talking about tort laws, and we didn't know when we were talking about copyrights.
Right.
With Tom W. Bell.
That's right.
But it was interesting because I didn't really know it. Tort law covers pretty much everything that isn't really covered by legislative law. So if your car's parked on a hill and it rolls down the hill and you hit somebody and you damage their vehicle, that would fall under kind of a tort law.
And so basically, if we can make it so that people aren't taking advantage and being opportunistic, if they really are hurt or damaged, go for it, because you deserve to get what's coming to you if you've actually been hurt. But I think it gets rid of probably about 90% of the bogus lawsuits that we see. Because in my experience, from what I've seen, almost every one of them is exaggerated or completely fabricated in one way or another. And as I say, it really damages the people that really were hurt.
Right.
Because they've got to defend their credibility because the automatic assumption from everyone is they're just full of shit.
Right. Right.
Well, right.
And
but like, even if you get sued, let's say you are the guy who is, being accused of doing something wrong or whatever. You still have to pay for a fucking lawyer. You still have to cough up all this expenses to defend your dignity of your establishment. But you could be out millions of dollars just defending your good name and be found innocent.
Yeah. And then you still lose because the person that brought the suit against you doesn't have the money to pay you.
Right.
And so what happens is if basically we use the libertarian principle of, if do what you want, but if you hurt someone else, there's a penalty. That can relate to lawsuits too.
Wow.
And I think that if that does, that really streamlines the legal process. It makes people less fearful of taking any risk, such as being in business, because you're a target. People all think you have money, even if you don't. And so they come after you. And so basically what that would do is it would make it safer for people to bring back these jobs. And what we'd have to do is we would have to prove to the businesses that used to support the inner cities that it's safe to come back, and that's what we have to do because they all ran scared. A lot of people are going, oh, they're all greedy and they just ran away because they want to make more money. Well, there may be some truth to that, but I really believe what really started this trend of people leaving the country was the annoyance of the bogus lawsuits the excessive corporate tax, and the unions who went too far the other way by demanding too much without considering the big picture, where they're thinking, yeah, it'd be great for our people that were making $40 an hour to get $42 an hour. But are they going to have jobs? What the unions need to remember is 100% of nothing is nothing.
Right.
That's right.
Totally.
And that's what they got to keep in mind. So it's cool if people want to get together and they want to negotiate their salaries together in a large group because they think it helps them. That's fine. I got no problem with that. Better
safety in numbers,
Absolutely. Right. I mean, I've got no problem with the concept. I think it's a very good idea. And I think in American history, it has been a helpful thing before it became a damaging thing.
I agree.
And I think that really what has to be done is if you're dealing with a manufacturer that's looking at coming back, you just say, once again, if they're going to sue you, you got recourse unless you did something wrong, and then you just better pay them. As far as the unions go, maybe good communication and trying to remind them the big picture would help. And then, but corporate tax is 35%. And I don't know if you may realize this, but in a small corporation that's registered like a large corporation, they're double taxed.
Right.
So basically, the corporation pays tax on its profit, plus the people who are managing or owning the stock in the corporation that might receive money are paying tax on their income. And so it's double taxation. Now, there is a way around that, without getting too deep. You can use a subchapter S corporation, but that's not where I'm headed. What I'm talking about is basically getting rid of that corporate and personal income tax and bringing back freedom and liberty, and I think that, and I think it's not just manufacturing. I mean, some of what's changed in the world, the global economy has changed. I know we do support free trade and the free market. And so,
right.
You don't want to bring something back artificially. But I do believe that the thing goes hand in hand with the educational ability we have in this country.
Absolutely.
And so basically you got to figure, how is it that somebody who couldn't get a chance to be educated can still make a good living, and those factories used to be the way to do it. And it wasn't an ideal situation, but it was a long-term career. They'd usually have retirement and benefits, and they could work their way up, be rewarded for hard work. And it was a way for people in a lower socioeconomic strata that could not afford an education to still have a meaningful career. Well, now look what's happening in the inner cities. Without these jobs, there's a lot of crime, a lot of drugs
Absolutely.
being sold. There's a lot of people who gave up and took government assistance. And there's something else I wanted to say regarding government assistance. When Romney ran last year, he made that faux pas, or I should say 2012, he made that faux pas insulting 47% of Americans that just want to live off the government.
Uh-huh.
If you want to drop an F-bomb here, Johnny, go right ahead.
Nice.
Go fuck yourself, Romney. No.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Now you don't have me on record saying that.
right. I'm cool with it.
But yeah, see, the thing is, not only did he insult the military retirees that risked their necks for 20 years plus to get that paycheck, and the people who paid in Social Security all their lives, and then I think he also, taking the percentage left of people who are living off public assistance, I think that, yes, there are a few people out there that just don't want to work and they don't have a problem with their neighbor paying their bills. But I believe that they're in the minority. I think that a lot of the people are lost. They're without hope and without direction. And I think that if the liberty to take the type of risk to start a business, to do anything you can on your own without government harassment, I would think they would much rather earn their keep. I just think a lot of people are lost, and without direction, they just don't know what to do. And I think that if we were to be able to bring the country around to our way of thinking, then a lot of people who are on the public dole might just be able to make it on their own. And I think that right now the government's in the way of just about everything.
Right on.
And so I think that comment about 47% was not only insulting, it was dead wrong.
Okay.
And I think that, we've got to have some faith in the people. We've got to have some faith in the fact that people, for the most part, that they want to have the pride of earning their keep. They want to be rewarded for hard work, and they don't want the obstacles in the way. And I can tell you, I've been in business for many years. I've dealt with a lot of regulators. I've dealt with, and some are cool, some are horrible, just like
Sure.
people. It's the laws that are the problem,
Absolutely.
and so, but basically what happens is, with all of these years of working in corporate America and seeing how difficult it is to comply with each and every law. Actually, it's impossible because many of the laws contradict each other.
I was going to talk to you about that, Steve.
But the fact is, it's almost impossible for a seasoned person in business to stay out of trouble. And I have not. I've had my moments.
Sure.
But the fact is, it creates. Imagine if someone who's just coming in fresh into trying to make a business of their own, whatever level it is, whatever they want to do. There's no way they could possibly stay out of trouble between collecting taxes, between keeping up with compliance and licensing and, 16 gajillion laws, and there's just no way they can do it. And so they're afraid. And I don't blame them. And the government, it's so funny hearing these politicians out there, and the people have been around a long time, and they're saying, we need American jobs. Oh, yeah, we do. But so why is it you do everything you can to stop people from having American jobs?
Exactly.
Right.
It's self-defeating.
Totally. Well, a perfect example of that is, the biggest problem small business faces is access to capital. Where are you going to get the money to start it? Where are you going to get the money to keep it going when you run into a rainy day? And you will run into a rainy day.
Okay.
And so the federal government creates the Small Business Administration, the SBA. And the SBA creates programs that basically let small businesses that can't get regular bank loans to have a loan for their business that is guaranteed by a certain percentage by the federal government. And so it basically is supposed to produce access to capital for business people that can't get loans elsewhere. Okay. Well, let's look at the other side. Let's look at regulation.
Right. Okay. This is what I was going to talk about, man.
Well, yeah. And what happens is banking regulation is so onerous that, I've spoken to a number of bankers over the years, and they all say the same thing. These SBA programs would be nice, but the problem is we're so scared that if one of these loans goes bad, that the regulators are going to swoop down on us, and we're not going to be able to defend ourselves. So they don't make the loan. So you got the SBA, which is defeated by the regulators.
Right.
So, and this is just one example of so many self-defeating issues because our government is too large. And the other thing, too, is they have lost touch with the people. The Constitution says that we, the people, are supposed to be our government. When did that change? When did they become our adversaries?
Right. I'd like to see any politician change their tire on their car.
Yeah.
I don't think it could happen.
No.
I don't think it could happen.
I don't think so either. And I think that really what's happening is I think that because this is such a long progression over so many years, a lot of people just don't see it. Like that thing with, our Friendly Patriot Act, where basically now they can look at all kinds of personal information about people who have never been, had any action against them, no authorization by any court for anything. And it's so against the Fourth Amendment. It just blows my mind.
Oh,
but there are people out there that go, well, if you don't do anything wrong, what are you afraid of?
I hate that.
And
That's a fucking stupid ass. I hate those fucking people.
Well, I mean, it's once, and I've had a lot
I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not watching child pornography on my computer.
Well, and what happens is a lot of people may not realize this, but, when people talk about business versus government, and I think to myself, okay, well, business is an entity that is designed to hopefully make profit. Okay. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so.
It's a good thing. It's a great thing. Wonderful.
It is a good thing. But government is basically power. And so if you compare which is more dangerous, profit motive or a power motive, I can tell you from my experience, the people that crave power are sick.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens is, I've dealt with people within various regulatory organizations that don't care what's best for anybody, including the people they're charged to protect. They just want to hurt you.
Right.
And make a name for themselves. And I think that this is government gone wild. And I think that it's not what was designed in the Constitution. It's not the people. And that's where I think we need to keep reminding Americans that we still have, as long as we act fast enough, we still have the ability to take back this country so that we can live the lives that we want. And one of the main reasons that I'm here as well is because I really think that if I have this pulpit, if I have this ability to speak, that's going to bring people and catch their attention, then I might be able to make a better country for the next generation and beyond. Because I'm very afraid that the current conditions have lost all reason, and that it's going to make each subsequent generation more and more subservient. And I'm already seeing connections between where we're headed and the old Soviet Union. And this is not what any of us want, but a lot of us don't see where we're headed. We're just lemmings, just walking off the cliff.
Right.
And I think that if the right person gets out there, we can wake them up. We can make them realize, hey, this is not what any of us want. But I think one of the most important things is to make people, this goes back to that, cameras in your bedroom thing. If you can really make people...
Unless it's voluntary.
Well, voluntary is fine. Right. Remember, we're libertarians.
Right.
But no, it's the thing that if people really can get their heads around the fact that the Republicans and Democrats are so similar, because when you say that, they think you're insane. You know, but they're so similar. And if you can really illustrate that in terms that they can understand, then maybe it opens up their minds to bring us in to basically let them live their lives the way they want to.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. So what are your thoughts about minimum wage? Do you think that the minimum wage is also a contributing factor to the decline of business here in this country?
It can be. You know, I think that, and what scares me, you know, let's use the fast food $15 thing. And I know that's actually in Seattle. Isn't the $15 minimum wage in Seattle?
It is.
Oh,
Yes,
fuck
sir.
yeah, it is.
It's scary because
Yeah.
we're in the advent of technology here. You know, a lot of our jobs can be replaced by a machine that's not going to sue us, not going to call in sick, you know, and not going to organize unions against us. Okay,
That's right. And they don't get knocked up and take maternity leave.
they don't do that either. And so what happens is you know, if somebody is forced, let's use McDonald's for an example. I hope I'm not breaking some
No,
trademark.
that's fucking cool.
But-
McDonald's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A,
Yeah.
whatever. Fuck it.
I like Big Macs.
That's
all. That's all.
So, but basically, here's the thing. Okay, if the average McDonald's employee was paid, let's say $8.50 an hour, all right, and they've got now they're already declining, McDonald's, for example, but let's say the average fast food worker is getting $8.50 an hour. Now, if they and they're all competing with price, they've got certain price points because if they raise the price of their meals or their food, then they're going to lose their customer base significantly.
Right.
So the only way that they can, if minimum wage goes to $15 an hour when they're used to paying $8.50, and if let's say labor's 40% of their costs, they're probably talking about having to raise all their food somewhere in the neighborhood of what, 20%, you know, something like
Right.
that. If they do that, they're going to lose market share. So what are they going to do? They're going to automate these jobs. Right. It goes back to that whole 100% of nothing is nothing thing.
Right.
And I think that, you know, the other problem that they'll face is that if, you know, a lot of people who are working fast food jobs may be uneducated, you know, may not have some of the social skills, the experiential goodies that a lot of people have in the education. And so what happens is if they're going to have to pay $15 an hour, that's $30,000 a year. My
Right.
guess is they're going to replace a lot of those hardworking people with college graduates.
Right.
And so the
Right.
very people who are, you know, stomping and fighting and protesting for this are probably going to lose their jobs if it happens. You know, it goes back that same union thing. And I think that, you know, in a lot of these cases, like I say, they can automate the jobs, you know, but I really believe that most people who run businesses take a certain amount of pride in how many jobs they've created, unless they're a complete scumbag.
Well, see,
you know?
the problem I
Right.
have is government doesn't create jobs. The
they
market
just-
does.
And the government destroys the jobs. The market-
Exactly, through regulations.
exactly.
And
You
I
know,
think regulations, bullshit lawsuits, excessive union demands, corporate taxes, people don't want to fucking start businesses here. I wouldn't.
Right.
If
You're
I,
punished.
no, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, you're punished if you do. I mean, I've done it for many years, and I can tell you that the amount of harassment that I've gotten has been, you know, it's kind of like they say no good deed goes unpunished.
Right.
I can tell you from personal experience, a no good deed goes unpunished.
So do you believe that the market should determine wages? Do you believe there should be a minimum wage at all?
I don't believe you need a minimum wage at all because I really think that here's the thing. If people are going to work for whatever that they think is reasonable, yes, people who are in trouble, they may be willing to take less because they're desperate for a job. But I really think that the free market will dictate all of that. And I think that as long as I'm picking on fast food, let's talk about that one. Let's just say they have different levels. Let's say, you know, when I was a kid, matter of fact, I worked at fast food when I was 16, you know, and I earned $2.65 an hour. Okay.
Right.
But I was in high school. I mean, that was great. That was cool to get a $100 paycheck for a week's work. You
Right.
know, that was like I just won the lottery.
It's gas in
Yeah.
your tank, man.
Well, yeah.
And beer
so,
and smokes and
well, when you're
Not
16,
beer.
I don't know
You're
that.
16, man. Johnny,
But,
oh, sorry,
Bro.
my bad.
Come on, man.
That's you can go to the movies with your girl.
that's right.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, go to the movies.
well, and so the thing is, you know, it depends on what people's needs are. You know, if it's a high school kid and they're going to work for $4.50 an hour, $5 an hour, that's cool.
Yeah.
Why do we have to pay them $15 an hour to take the jobs away from somebody who might have to support a family?
Exactly.
You know, and so I really believe the free market will dictate this. And I think that if wages were to get to the point where some were just ridiculously low to the point that they were insulting, I also believe that the consumer prices would change to adjust for that. Because if the bulk of the people are in a certain wage area and that does not support people, then the prices of the things they need to buy would probably adjust as well. I think that you
Everything.
really...
The whole economy would adjust.
Yeah, because if you leave it
Right.
up to the free market, I think the free market would figure out. Now, some people would do better than others, and, you know, I can't argue with that. But once again, I just think that, you know, if we're talking about personal liberty, if we're talking about free market, you have to really let it go. You got to see, put some new tires on, see how far it's going to go.
Right. I think that's the best thing. Anyways, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, always launching ideas in your direction. The Northwest only rock and roll libertarian radio show. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Kurt fucking Nelson.
Hey everybody, check out The Haunted Heel, the Texas Rockabilly Retro and Rock one-stop shop. For all your vintage clothing and nostalgic gear, check out www.thehauntedheel.com. Type in Johnny Rocket for 10% off your clothing order or merchandise order.
And my voice of reason, the beautiful Heather Nixon.
And make sure and check out our weekly podcasts. They are uploaded on iTunes and on Podbean. And go to our Facebook/JR Launchpad and give us a like.
Anyways, it's Johnny Rocket. I'm talking to Steve Kerbel. Check out his website, stevekerbel2016.com. Awesome guy. He has wonderful ideas. Love talking to you, man. We're not done with you yet, sir. We got Rocket Fire coming up, and we have a woman's place. So stick around here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad.